Good evening. My name is Bruce Beckman, and I'm with Alpine Rescue Team. I want to thank you so much for joining me with this presentation on lightning awareness. I want to thank Alpine Rescue, its training committee, and Aaron Dover for making this presentation possible. By the way of background, for those of you who do not know me, I joined Alpine in the early 80s, and after work transferred me to Seattle in 1989. I was with Seattle Mountain Rescue until 1996. I rejoined Alpine Rescue in 2016. I'm a member of the Colorado Lightning Data Center, a group of scientists and physicians who meet monthly to discuss the effects of lightning on the human body. Personally, I've always been interested in lightning because of my close relationship with it while hiking in the mountains. And yes, it's had a striking impact on me. Sorry for the pun. This presentation is not about how to make you a meteorologist or a climatologist. Several weeks ago, Dale Atkins presented Nowcasting, Reading Mountain Weather, and I believe there's a video of that posted up that you're able to view. He talked about forecasting general weather in the mountains. This presentation is about the facts of lightning and to make you more aware about lightning and its potential impact on you. The presentation was originally developed for Alpine Skills for the Hills PSAR education program and has been modified in part for tonight's discussion. I hope I don't cloud the matter over. That being said, let's begin. This is Long's Peak, under attack by lightning during a thunderstorm. As you can tell, there is no safe place on a mountain during a lightning storm. If you take anything away from this entire presentation, one is do not go up when threatening storms are near, or do not head in when the storms are up. Leave plenty early, okay? According to Jim Detterline, a Rocky Mountain National Park climbing ranger, on Long's Peak, more people have had broken legs and ankles fleeing from lightning than have ever been struck by lightning, and turning around sooner so you don't have to run. That's key to this entire presentation. Mount Beardstadt had a lightning strike on June 28, 2015. 15 individuals were struck by lightning. One dog died. Here's the video.
It was a solid stream of folks headed up. We weren't banking on the storms until 1 or so, but it really caught us by surprise.
Alex Denton wasn't in the group that was struck, but was high on the mountain when the storm hit. His legs showed just how strong the storm was.
The lightning was incredibly close and intense, and you could hear it echoing off the valley walls. And in conjunction with the hail just pounding on us, it was unbelievable, really. It was fearsome.
Usually everybody comes out by about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, because the thunderstorms come in and it's dangerous to be up there. These come in a little bit early today.
The 911 call came in around 11:30 this morning.
The lightning strike hit 15 people. 3 of them were critically injured and the rest were minor injuries.
Mountain rescue crews rushed up Guanella Pass, but amazingly, everyone in the group was able to save themselves.
Some of them were knocked unconscious for a while, up to 5 minutes, some up to 30 seconds. They're all able to regain consciousness, walk out on their own. 5 of them were transported. There was a couple that had some head injuries, so they were transported first.
Okay, pretty dramatic video. The reason the dog died and not any of the individuals is because the dog was standing on 4 points, and with elongated torso, there's a greater distance between the front feet and the back, which increases the probability of death due to strikes. We'll talk more about it. Tonight's agenda, though, is 10 different elements, and one is to test your current knowledge, a brief quiz, historical stats, Lightning, talking about what makes it, a little bit about weather forecasts, but not a lot. The various ways you can be struck by lightning factoids and myths, try to set the story straight on some things you may have heard or mom might have said. Using your senses when in the backcountry, prevention in the backcountry. If a person is struck by lightning, what you can do, and electrical insults. With that, let's begin. So, a few questions about lightning, testing your current knowledge. It takes how long for sound to travel a mile? 3 seconds, 5, 7, or 9 seconds? Well, the answer is 5 seconds. The speed of sound travels about 1,125 feet per second. So about 5 seconds equals 1 mile. So when in the backcountry or even at home, when you see the flash, count the seconds until the first sound of thunder. Then divide that value by 5. For example, you see a flash and you count to 15 seconds. Divide by 5, that's 3 miles. Very, very close, and too close for comfort. Thunder may be heard as far away as 5, 10, 12, or 14 miles. Well, when conditions are perfect, you're going to hear thunder about 10 miles away, no farther. So that's 50 seconds on our clock to go 10 miles. Generally, you'll hear thunder within about 5 miles or 25 seconds. Still, way too close. So if you can hear thunder, you can be struck by lightning. You're well within the range. Lightning may strike as far away as 5, 8, 10, 15, or 25 miles. 8 miles is the general or common value, 6 to 8 miles. However, it's not unusual to see strikes of over 25 miles. 20 to 25 miles is a pretty good distance. NASA in Florida is recording strikes 90 miles from the center of the storm. So these are very small conservative values compared to what NASA is seeing. The longest lightning stroke on record is 25, 50, 100, or 200. Well, it's 200 miles, and that was observed, I think, in 2016 in Oklahoma. Not too far away. The normal stroke of lightning is 4 miles long. So, taking a look at a map, 200 miles from downtown Denver near I-25 is almost to Grand Junction. That's a very, very long strike. The longest lasting lightning stroke on record is 2.5, 3.2, 7.7, or 8.3 seconds. The average stroke is only 1 second, but the longest lasting is 7.7 seconds. Lightning can only occur in summer months when rain is possible. False. There's thunder snow when the storms are churning up and creating static electricity and it's really dry. You can get thunderstorm. As a matter of fact, Boston in 2017 recorded their first lightning strike due to thunderstorm during a nor'easter that hit the town. Excuse me. Dry lightning and heat lightning. People say, oh, heat lightning is just the light. No, you see the heat or the light, but you're generally more than 10 miles away, thus you're not hearing the thunder from it. So on to some historical stats. So ground to cloud strokes plus cloud to cloud or cloud pulses for 2019 Colorado was about 3.7 million. We slipped down to 20th only because other states increased in their count, so we stayed about the same. But there were really only 500,000 ground and to cloud strikes, or cloud to ground, I should say, recorded in 2019. 500,000. And this data is based on the National Lightning Detection Network, NLDN, and they state that cloud to cloud is only 50 to 60%, and cloud to ground is 80 to 90% accurate. So these numbers are really conservative and would be actually larger if detection was better. The average number of lightning strikes in Colorado for any given day for each month are shown below. Notice that there's not one single month in which there isn't. Of course, January, February, December have very, very low numbers. But looking in March, we have a significant increase. March jumping to April, May, June. And of course, you'd say, yeah, that makes sense. Those are our big months. So for us, we're really looking at about a 7-month time frame in which we have to really be concerned about lightning. Not that you're not at other times, but the majority of the occurrences are in this 7-month time frame. Lightning flashes per day, the average in blue, and the 7-day mean is in red. Look at the middle of July. You're looking at almost 8,000, 7,800 roughly, lightning flashes per day. So you see this gradual again, starting around, March a little bit, end of March, moving into April, all the way up into the high months, which is expected in July and August, and tailing off again. The average number of strikes per hour in Colorado from looking at 96 to 2016 creates this bell curve. And of course you'd say, yes, this is what we would expect to see. But the thing that's of interest is looking at the beginning slope. That slope angle is relatively steep, and it gains speed quite quickly. Once we hit about 16 or 1700 hours, 1800 hours, then it starts to move off. But look how gradual it comes down. And even looking at midnight on the left-hand portion of that graph, down to around 4 in the morning, you're still got some significant lightning potential that's out there. Sorry about that. 80% of the day's strikes occur in just 8 hours. Okay? So with this, here's the map of the state. Now you got to multiply these values by 1,000, but for 2019, this records the number of lightning strikes from cloud to ground recorded in each of these counties. Gilpin, Clear Creek, and Jefferson are Alpine Rescue's main counties. Jefferson County is 7,000. Clear Creek, half of that, 3.1 or 3,100. But look, right next door, Park County is sitting at 13.6. El Paso, 27. Los Animas, 35,000. So it varies across the state. So lightning, what makes it? Well, everything is made of atoms. We have protons, which are the positive charges, and they're located in the center. Electrons, which are the negative charges, and those are flying around the outside there in dark on that diagram. And then we have the neutrons, which are the red ones sitting in the center right alongside the protons. Well, for us with lightning, it's only the protons and the electrons that we're worried about. They have the exact same charge, just opposite in value, positive versus negative. Generally, during a thunderstorm, these positive and negative charges get pulled apart, and no one knows why for sure. But it's theorized that the warm drafts that are going upward sweep these positive charges aloft, leaving the bottom of the cloud negatively charged. The attraction between the positive ground and the negative charges in the bottom of the cloud creates the lightning strike and a brief current of negative charge that travels from cloud to ground. So here's a nice diagram. We have this typical thunderhead. Notice the height is significantly taller than the width. That's the formation of a lightning strike or a thunder. So typically at the bottom of that cloud, it's very dark, and this is where the rain and the hail form. As it moves up into the center, oops, here you are down at the bottom. You're in there when you don't even have your umbrella on. So in the center is the engine that I call it. This is where the updrafts are picking up and creating this static electricity as it moves up into that cloud. And again, those positive electrons are being pushed way to the top. And the center and lower portion of the cloud is creating this negative charge. Way out on those anvil, that's the anvil to the right and to the left, those top ends that are getting pulled by the high prevailing winds, pushing those electrons way, way out beyond the storm. That's creating a lot of danger for us. Streamers are these little charges of positive charges that are moving up from the ground, looking for a connection into the cloud. There's one right by that person. So as these streamers are all over forming, trying to move up and find a connection, we have a leader. These leaders stair-step down from the cloud, looking for a companion charge. So it's looking for a negative, is looking for its positive mate. And there, right by that individual, it makes a connection. And boom, this is when you have lightning. And the one thing to take away from this picture is that these streamers, 3 of these streamers haven't connected with the cloud, only the one. But when one goes off, the other streamers go off as well. So let's take a look at what else is happening. Again, we talked about those negative charges way out at the end, like to the right here, and those positive charges. Those are looking for those opposites as well, and those can be out to 25 miles. Boom, we have a connection way, way out, way far from the base of the storm. And again, when that one strikes, all of the streamers that are formed underneath that cloud also fire off. That creates the problem. So here's another picture from Earth science. Look at the cold air coming down and the warm air moving up, and you've got this tall cumulonimbus cloud that's forming, and the prevailing wind going from the left side of the page to the right, causing that long, long anvil to get pulled out. And remember, that's where those positive charges are getting pulled, some 20, 25 miles or more. And now we have all these streamers forming. Eventually one connects, and boom, we have lightning, and all the streamers fire off as well. Here's a nice cumulonimbus cloud or thunderhead cloud. The question is, look at the direction. The wind is blowing off those mountains to the east here. And you're looking now at this little rainstorm, this little microburst, which is a huge downdraft, bringing rain, can be hail, can be quite damaging. This could be you over by the car. Are you really safe over here? Maybe not. With all that cloud being pushed out over top of you, it looks sunny and nice where you're at, but you've got weather forming above you that can create danger. Here's another one. A couple of the cumulonimbus clouds are gathered together, clumped together. Look at the height relative to the width of each of those columns. You may be out here on that little peak enjoying a nice day saying, I'm not going to get close to that. That's too dangerous. Look how dark the bottom of that cloud is and how flat it is. And the anvil is starting to look puffy as it's being pulled by the prevailing winds towards you. Dangerous situation. Here at 38,000 feet, you get a really great shot. You may not even see this from the ground because of the cloud cover that's preventing you from seeing this. Here's another great picture. This could be you way over here, but look at where the winds are pulling the tops of the cloud over top of you. Time to be careful. Let's talk about rescue teams and storms. With the prevailing winds going from west to east, and during prime times and months that we've talked about, we should be looking far to the west for approaching storms. These prevailing winds are pushing charged particles far forward of the storm. That would be, in our case, to the east. With lightning strikes up to 10, 20, maybe even 25 miles from the storm, when we're conducting a mission on one peak and we have approaching storms on another range, 15, 20, 25 miles away, we should be putting weather spotters far to the west of mission areas to monitor approaching storms for field teams. Back in 2016, I was doing radio relay up on Mount Evans, and we had a lost party. I was the relay between the west field teams field teams west of Mount Epaulet, as well as field teams that were east of Mount Epaulet. And from my vantage point, I could see these storms rolling in from the west and was able to give field teams who were standing in burn areas that had nothing taller than probably a 2 or 3 foot stump enough time to get out of the area. They were very appreciative when we had a 20-minute rainstorm with lots of lightning and graupel and some hail to be out of that area and to help avoid being the tallest party on the mountain. So it's important to be looking at this during our prime months and times to save our rescuers from getting hit. So how far is it from Mount Evans down here on the right just to Loveland Pass as the crow flies? Well, it's only 13 miles. And if you have a storm moving 10, 20, 30, even 40 miles an hour, it doesn't take long to move 13 miles. Grays and Torreys is in the center here, and that's only 10 miles as the crow flies from Mount Evans. And yes, I've been on Evans on rescues when I've been watching storms on Grays, and it's been a little hair-raising to say. So in the morning, there's a 400% increase in lightning strokes between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So we're telling folks to be off the summits by 10 and the ridges and definitely the saddles by 11 o'clock. Because remember that chart, 9, 10 o'clock, you've got that steep angle forming on that bell curve. So you want to be off by 11 for sure. 95% of lightning strokes occur between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. And you would say, yeah, that makes sense. You know, that's pretty much most of the busy day. But 50% of those strikes occur between 2 and 6. That 4-hour time frame from 2 o'clock, 1400 to 1800 hours, is 50% of the day's lightning strikes occur then. So watch prevailing winds for the day, building cumulus clouds, changing wind directions, signs of precipitation, rapid temperature changes, that cold front moving through, cloud formations, have situational awareness. Stop looking at the ground and start looking up ahead of you and behind you. Look all around you. See what's coming in and what's changing and how rapid it's changing. So on to weather forecasts. Again, we're not going to get into the heavy detail, but when you're hiking, are you hiking locally? Getting local weather for Denver just doesn't cut it. Maybe unless you're over on Green Mountain or something, but still, get forecast farther out. Aspen, Vail, the prevailing winds are coming west to east. Better yet, if you're not hiking in this area, take a look 50 miles west of where you plan to be hiking. Again, that's maybe only an hour or an hour and a half of time from when a storm is in that area to when it could be on top of you. So mountainforecast.com is, I think, a very good Reader's Digest version of forecasting mountain weather. Here it is. You have mountains range. You can pick the Rocky Mountains. The sub-range is the Front Range, and for this example, I chose Mount Evans. And it gives you a nice map of the immediate area. As you scroll down, you have elevation on your left. You can pick from 3 different elevation points to get details on. So pick the elevation you want to view the data about. But be sure you look at all of the elevations, especially if you're climbing those summits. The next point is to look at the day, and then you'll see click to detail there. So before you do, you have AM, PM, and night, a real quick summary. And you have your wind speed and what's going to be clear and a little weather map. And down below you see rain, and of course the example I chose for this didn't have any rain or snow forecast. But if we click the detail, we go down to the next page, now you have 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. And again, your wind speeds for each of those time frames. Look, from 10 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour from 3 to 6. 9 o'clock, you got that warming that's taking effect and the winds are picking up. It jumps to 30 miles an hour and stays like that pretty much during the day. Again, you can look down and you can see your high temperatures and your low temperatures, your wind chill and freezing levels. Taking one more screen down, the blue line is your freeze level. Then you've got your elevations, 9, 12, 15,000, and the temperatures. You're starting off at 32 degrees, but you're going to go down to 12 degrees with a wind chill around 23. Okay, freezing levels at 81. So this gives you a pretty good number to look at. A better source is digitalweather.gov, and those that are more experienced in weather forecasting and have done this a lot and are able to get into the details find this extremely helpful. When you click on it, each little square is a 2-mile segment. And if you click on each one where you're going to be, you get tremendous amount of information, more than I'm going to show here for this example. Moving on, another good app, you can use it on your phone or you can do it online, is Windy, windy.com. And choose the thunderstorm and lightning layer. And again, this particular one was done at a time when it was more winter and I wasn't looking for lightning. But it still shows you the wind direction, where those winds are going to be coming from. And that'll help you determine what areas you want to look and get forecasts for. So now, moving on to number 5, how you can be struck by lightning. So let's talk about the various ways you can be struck. Look at Michael McQuilkin. He's the gentleman in the center, and his brother Sean and sister Mary. And everyone laughs at this picture, and it is a funny picture. But what you're seeing is the effect of streamers. They're standing on a streamer. And that streamer is pulling their hair straight up to the cloud, looking for a connection. You do not want to have this. This means you are about to be struck. And remember, when one streamer goes off, they all go off. So let's read through an article by Janelle that was published in 2013 when they interviewed Michael. Michael says, we were from San Diego and really stupid. A long-haired 18-year-old boy that, took the snapshot, was taken on August 20th of 75. His brother Sean was 12 and Mary was 15. He says, we thought it was really something funny. But now nearly 38, now 45 years today, later, McQuilkin says he recalls that deadly afternoon in the Sierra Nevada mountains quite vividly. And when I spoke with him, you could hear the tone in his voice, the flash of that white light as bright as an arc welder going off, and the deafening explosion, the feeling of becoming weightless and being lifted off the ground, very common by individuals who have experienced this. But most of all, he says he remembers just the sheer power of the bolt from above. I never was cautious before that, says Michael. Now, if I'm out to climb a peak, I'm the first person to bail if clouds gather. So as a follow-up to this story, the entire family received third-degree burns a few seconds later from when this picture was taken. 2 of the 3 brothers committed suicide before age 27, succumbing to central nervous system and neurological damage, both within 14 years of the event. The rest of the family exposed to the strike all still suffer from severe depression, and Mary still hides in a closet today when lightning hits at home. Lung tumors and brain tumors have developed in the entire family. And we're going to talk more about electrical insults and the medical implications that you will experience if you have this sort of event. So 5 ways lightning strikes people. You have direct strike, not common, most deadly, when hit though. Side flash or side splash within a couple feet of the tall object. Ground current travels wide areas of the ground. This is where the highest death rates occur. Think of the fields where deer, cows, etc. are killed. This is generally by ground current. Conduction. This can be indoors or outdoors via wires. Metal. Could be metal in the concrete floor. And streamers. Not as common as many other types, but very high risk of being hit. When one streamer fires off, all streamers fire. So you don't want to be in the path of a streamer. So the next few slides are going to be taken from weather.gov, and you can look this up yourself. But let's go through it one by one. So a direct strike. This is when the person becomes part of the main lightning discharge channel. Most often, direct strikes occur to victims who are in open areas. And the direct strikes are not as common as other ways people are struck by lightning, but are potentially the most deadly. You're out and get hit direct, you will suffer severely. In most direct strikes, the current moves through the body, usually through the cardiovascular and the nervous system. Very deadly. Side flash or side splash. This is when that charge comes down out of the clouds, finds a tree, and you're standing close to it. The side flash occurs when lightning strikes this taller object and the victim is standing near it. Generally, it jumps from the taller object to the victim. In essence, the person is acting as a short circuit for some of that energy in the lightning discharge. Side flashes generally occur when you're within a foot or 2 of the object that is struck. So if you have to be in the woods, don't be near a tall object, otherwise you can get side flash. Most often this occurs when people quickly go in and huddle close to a tree to avoid rain or hail. Very dangerous. Ground current, this is the big one for us. When lightning strikes a tree or other object, much of the energy travels outward from the strike in and along the ground surface. This is known as ground current, and anyone outside near a lightning strike is potentially a victim of ground current. In addition, ground current can travel in garage floors with conductive materials buried within. Because the ground current affects a much larger area than other causes of lightning, they cause a lot of casualties. The ground current causes the most lightning deaths and injuries of any. Ground current kills many farm animals. Remember the dog on Beardstaff in the slide at the beginning. Not the people, they weren't killed, but the dog was killed because he had 4 points of contact and there was a great distance between the two. Generally, the lightning enters the body at one contact point closest to the lightning strike, travels through the entire cardiovascular or nervous system, and then exits the body at the other contact point farthest from the lightning. So the greater the distance between those contact points, the greater the potential for death or serious injury. And because large farm animals have a relatively large body span, their feet are separated by 5-6 feet, ground current from a nearby lightning is awful fatal to livestock. So we need to be very, very worried about this. Conduction. This is one that more so in the cities, but can happen out in the mountain as well. So you have this lightning charge that comes down. It can travel long distances in wires or other metal surfaces. Metal does not attract lightning, but it provides a path for the lightning to follow. Most indoor lightning casualties and some outdoor casualties are due to conduction. So whether inside or outside, anyone in contact with anything connected to metal wires, plumbing, metal surfaces that extend outside is at risk. This includes anything that plugs into an electrical outlet, anything that plugs in to an electrical outlet. Your TV, your computer, lights, ceiling fans, anything. Okay? Water faucets and showers, corded phones, and being close to windows and doors. Very dangerous. What about holding on to a fence? Barbed wire fence as we're going under or over the fence and lightning strikes way down the road and hits close by and it transfers to that wire. We're going to get zapped. So we need to be aware. And lastly, again, we talked about streamers. While it's not common as other types of lightning injuries, people caught in streamers are at risk of being killed or severely injured by lightning. Streamers develop as the downward moving leader approaches the ground. Now, you'll notice one streamer makes contact with the leader as it approaches the ground and provides the path for the bright return. However, the main channel discharges, so do all the others. Look at the gentleman on the far right. That streamer didn't connect with anything, but it still fired off. So if a person is part of one of the streamers, they could be killed or injured during the streamer discharge, even though the lightning channel was not completed between the cloud and the upward streamer. On to number 6, lightning factoids and myths. I'm sure moms always gave you tips about lightning, so let's talk about some of these. Lightning finds air to be a poor conductor to travel, looks for other objects such as tall trees, buildings, tall objects, and you. Why? Because the human body is comprised mainly of salt water. Salt water is an ionic solution, sodium and chloride, positive and negative, which conducts electricity very well. 80–90% of your body is salt water. Thus, you become a living lightning rod. A stroke of lightning that we see is what? Let's talk about it. Generally, it's an inch or so, can be, but definitely less than 2 inches wide, but up to 4 miles in length. That's amazing. 2 inches wide, 4 miles long. It averages 5,300 degrees, but can be over 70,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The sun is just 10,000. It's made up of 18 strokes per flash. Okay, sometimes less, but generally no more than 18 flashes make up that stroke within a second. You can't even see it. 90% of the stroke's energy is heat. 9% is converted to light, and only 1% into sound or thunder. Morning lightning averages 30,000 amps per strike. And again, you've got 6, 8, up to 18 strikes per second. Your home service, electrical service, is only 200 amps, so that's quite a bit more. Afternoon lightning strikes range from 6 to 20,000, so first blush you would say it'd be better to be hit in the afternoon than it would in the morning. But according to the University of Ohio Physics Department, it only takes 0.1 to 0.2 amps to be lethal on the human body. Not a great situation. Lightning is not attracted to metal objects more than non-metal, but avoids touching things as metal fences and bleachers because they can conduct electricity. We've all had ice axes humming and buzzing and carabiners rattling on our racks and all sorts of things. It's not attracted to that. You're standing, if you're hearing that, you're standing in a streamer, and it's those electrons, positive electrons, moving up through you, creating that noise and sound. Remember this, HIS. According to the National Weather Service, characteristics that make something more likely to be struck by lightning include height, isolation, and shape, rather than composition. However, nature doesn't always read the memo. If you go online and look at many of the videos on lightning strikes, you'll see, especially in the cities, some of these really, really tall buildings. And where does the lightning strike hit? It hits the ground. Okay? It's finding its own path. Lightning finds a path based on the movement and concentration of the oppositely charged particles. So as the wind pulls these particles and moves it through the air, it finds its way. It's going to find its own path. Let's take a look. This is why you don't stand next to a tall tree. Now I'm going to stop the video right here for a second, and I want you to concentrate on a couple of things. Look at all the bark that was blown off by that strike. So when the lightning hit that 50, 70,000 degrees Fahrenheit, instantaneously boils the sapwood, the xylem layer of the tree. That's the layer that's carrying sap from the roots deep in the ground up to the tree and taking it up to the various limbs and the tree structures. It instantaneously boils that and explodes that out. The other thing I want you to concentrate on is the two roof lines. And close to the front of that, you'll see where the two roofs are separated, the lower roof and the upper roof, but you'll see a bend. Concentrate now and see how many flashes you can count in the next playing of this video. Let's see if I can get it to go. When we analyzed this at the Lightning Data Center, we got the original video, and this is just a clip from that. The folks counted somewhere between 11, 12, or 13. They were indecisive on the exact number, but let's just say 12 different strikes between that lower roof line and the upper roof line. Now notice the tree does not even touch the roof. So again, you've got this side splash jumping from the tree over to that metal surface and creating these electrical discharges across that entire roof line. Another point to mention that's not shown in the video is 5 seconds before this strike hit, a gentleman at the camp walked in the foreground and up those stairs to the immediate left of the picture. He no more than got out of sight of the camera when the lightning struck. Had he been outside, it may have been a different story. So a myth, I'm safe inside a car. Well, maybe, yes, if it's a hard-topped metal car, and if it's metal frame and not the tires that protects you. So it's like a Faraday cage. When you looked at that in science class, it's the metal that's carrying that charge all around you. So you do not want to touch or hold anything metal, including microphones, door handles. Don't have your hand on the door handle. Don't have your hand on the stick shift, your foot on the brake or the clutch. Myth, rubber boots, rubber sole shoes, standing on your sleeping bag, rope, or sleeping pad will protect you. Wrong. The electricity will jump, and definitely you don't want to be standing or laying on any of this, which creates greater surface area. So, myth, you can get hit by lightning only when it's raining. Well, we know from talking about that earlier that is not correct. Oh yes, you can. You can get hit before, during, and after it rains. All you need is the cloud structure or the wind structure creating that static electricity, causing the separation of those positive and negative charges to create lightning. Another myth is thunder is caused by the air smacking together after a bolt strikes. Well, we know that's wrong. I used to lay in the yard when I was a kid because my mom told me it was the clouds smacking together. And when I watched the clouds bump into one another, there wasn't any thunder. So we knew at an early age that there was something else going on. Well, it's actually caused by the rapid expansion and contraction of the heated air. Remember, we're talking 50 to 70,000 degree Fahrenheit stroke of lightning coming down and superheating that air and forcing it apart. It's at a rapid expansion and, again, the contraction, like the popcorn popping in your stove, but only much bigger. Lightning never hits in the same spot twice. Wrong. Oh, yes, it can, and usually does, because it's following that path, that same charge channel. As many as 40 strokes have been observed to use the exact same charge channel in a lightning storm. So don't assume that once hit there, you're free. No, you're probably looking at a second or third or more. When in a modern building, it's okay to take a shower during a raining storm. No, it's not. So you're in a hotel, big rainstorm, you decide to go shower up. The water system, the metal pipes, all connected. It gets hit, you get struck. So all of these things bringing electric into the building, corded phones, irons, again, anything plugged in. 1999, 56 elk on Mount Evans at 12,000 feet, 4 miles south of the summit were killed. 48 of the elk were grouped together within a 60-foot circumference. They gathered and huddled together. How many times have we done that on a rainstorm? How many times have we gathered together and put a tarp up over us? How many times have we sat inside a bothy bag in the middle of a lightning storm? Maybe we should rethink that. 5 other elk were located 75 feet away, and yet 3 others were located 130 feet away from the main group, and they all were killed. The conduction through the ground current. 2016, 323 wild reindeer killed in Norway. The large number of animals are all killed as they flock together. And on March 22nd in Kenosha, Wisconsin, 7 deer were killed by lightning. Thunderstorms rolled through the area and lightning bolt hit a hayfield, and a small herd of does was grazing in. 1 deer was over 100 yards away from the others and was still killed. And because the field was wet, and generally when we're out in the backcountry, it's raining, we're standing on wet ground. We have ground current taking that electricity from the strike and bringing it to us. Let's talk about using your senses. The smell of rain and pending lightning. The smell of rain is caused by generally 3 factors: ozone, petrichor, and geosmin. First, the ozone. This is the one that's most prevalent. Lightning changes oxygen, O2, into ozone, O3. It has a sweet, pungent zing to it, and it's carried down from the clouds to your nose. So if you smell that, start thinking lightning's occurring someplace, and this sweet smell is being pulled by the winds towards me. It's time to get out of here. So be aware of nature's first warning sign. Then comes petrichor, the pleasant smell that frequently accompanies the first rain after long periods of warm, dry weather. The raindrop hits the uneven surface, traps this bubble, shoots it upward, and bursts at the top of the water droplet like fizz in a champagne glass. But these bubbles float very long distances before they pop, and you can smell the pollens and the dirts and the oils. How many times have you stood outside at or during a rainstorm or immediately thereafter when it was safe to stand outside and go, "Oh, that smells so good"? Yeah, we've all done it. Well, you're smelling one of these 3 things, the ozone or the petrichor, or could be the geosmin. Now, the geosmin is the blue bacteria, blue-green algae that's picked up. Okay, that's the stuff that gardeners love when they get their hands in the dirt. I love getting my hands in the dirt, they say. Well, they're mixing up this blue-green algae, and they're smelling that, and it's got such a great smell. So follow your nose. You smell these things, it's time to turn back and get out of there. So use your senses when traveling in the backcountry. Hearing, thunder in the distance, buzzing sounds nearby, not a good thing. Smell, the smell of distant rain, just like we talked about. Sight, what about changes in wind, speed, or direction? Hey, those trees were leaning left to right, now they're right to left. I had different kinds of feeling of wind. I had wind in my face, now I got wind in my back. I'm starting to feel a raindrop or 2. Something's tingling. I shouldn't have tingling while I'm hiking. Tastes. See what you taste. You can almost smell and taste that blue-green algae and things as it's in the air that's being kicked up by the storm and carried towards you by those prevailing winds, sometimes quite strong. So use your gut feel as well. It is real. Always, always, always have a plan to exit rapidly. Remember, Long's Peak, more people are hurt exiting rapidly than ever struck by lightning. You don't want to be running down the mountain. So remember this 30-30-30 rule. If you can see lightning, and if within 30 seconds you hear thunder, you're way too close. That's what? 6 miles, right? Seek shelter immediately. Wait 30 minutes, even if the sky is blue and clear following the last clap of thunder, before leaving your shelter. Remember the 20, 25-mile strikes that are possible. And third, if there's a 30% chance of storms, stay off the mountain. This is a 1 in 3 or better than 1 in 3 chance of you getting hit or struck. Let's put it another way. Let's go downtown to this new bar. I hear it's really good, but it's got a 30+ chance of being shot if you go in. But the drinks are to die for, and maybe you will. The mountain will always be there. Prevention in the backcountry. Prevention's the best medicine. There's no safe place outside in a thunderstorm. So you have to avoid open areas. That's very difficult for rescue teams on some of the mountains that we're doing, looking for parties that are lost and gone astray. We're out in a lot of open areas above tree line, but we got to be thinking of an exit plan. Where can we get out of there quickly? Don't be or be near the tallest objects in the area. Maybe you want to rethink who's the tallest member in your team. Don't shelter under tall or isolated trees. Remember, we talked about the side flash. You want to kind of be as far away as you can from those trees if you have to be in the trees, but don't be near the tallest for sure. In the woods, put as much distance between you and any tree. And if in a group, spread far apart so you increase the chances for survivors who would come to the aid of any victims from a lightning strike. Remember, I've really come to like the Bothy bag and what that's able to do for rescue teams, especially in the winter, and be able to create a quick shelter. But I have to rethink that in the middle of a lightning storm when we could have 6, 8 people, including a subject, all in one spot. Remember the deer getting hit on Mount Evans. Notice this doesn't say you will not be hit. It just says play the odds of being a survivor. And I hope you will. So if outside, do not lie down. This creates very large surface area for the charge to pass through and can go right through you, head to toe. It is not a good thing. Do not stand with your feet apart or widespread. Okay? And unfortunately, if you're moving quick down the trail and you've got a very long stride, you've just increased the distance between foot A and foot B, which is going to increase your probability of taking a severe hit. So if outside, do leave the area well in advance of a possible strike. There's nothing else you can say, just don't be there. And prevention is the easiest and safest thing to do. Watch the signs and avoid being in the area of lightning. So you may have seen or heard of the lightning crouch, but the Weather Service stopped recommending this in 2008. They just said it simply does not provide a significant level of protection. Regardless of your position, you are very likely to be struck and either killed or injured by the lightning strike. Seek shelter first. And I'll add as an antidote, do this as a last resort. Close your eyes and cover your ears. So the Weather Service recommends continue your pursuit. Don't stay there. Don't do the crouch. Get the heck out of there as quickly as you can. For some of us, that's probably not possible. We're talking miles of height and elevation and where we may be the tallest object on that peak or on that summit or ridge. So, but if you can't do it, this is what I would do. And I would not do this one. I would do this one. Notice the lightning is coming up 1 foot and out, exiting the next. And that's only because he's on the balls of his feet and because he has his heels touching. So he's short-circuited the electrical route. It's coming up 1 foot, crossing over the ankle, and out the other foot. It's not going up his leg, into his torso, in through his crotch, and up to his chest, okay, and down the other side of the leg. Notice he has elbows on the knees with his hands firmly placed against the ears. Head is down, protecting his eyesight, closing his eyes from that arc welding. The flash is so bright you'll even see it with your eyes closed. But protect your ears from the concussive forces of that blast. So where are you safe in the backcountry? You're not. There's no place outdoors where you're safe from lightning. Lightning is an objective hazard. Okay? Look at the scale here from 0 on the left, low safety, high risk, to 10, as safe as possible. 10 is the house or that metal van or car. There's no 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. There's a 3, which is least objectionable alternative, but still much riskier than being inside of a modern building. Look at all the 3s that pop up. Places you don't want to be. Definitely don't want to be where the 1 is, an overhang rock, or inside a cave, or maybe the mouth of a mine shaft. Strikes up above, following the ground layers of rock, water seeping through those, can jump from the top of that cave or mine across, just like an arc, and you could be caught in the middle of it. So if a person is struck by lightning, what do we do? So before approaching, we have to really ask ourselves, is the scene safe? We do that in any other medical situation. Is the scene safe? We come first. If a person is struck by lightning and you are nearby them when that occurs, you have to be very aware that a secondary strike or several more is possible. You need to be prepared. Lightning does strike more than once in the same spot, using the same charged path. Again, we've talked about that before. So if they're struck by lightning, the victim is not charged, and they may be touched. You're not going to get a charge from them. Medical care may be needed immediately to save the life. Call 911. Well, in most cases, we are 911. But if not, you're out at your son's baseball game or daughter's soccer game, call 911 right away, regardless. Perform CPR, do it as needed. Do we have our AEDs? We need to also treat for hypothermia, shock, and bleeding. Hypothermia? Yeah, you had a cold rainstorm, maybe a little bit of sleet or grapple. It can be cold. This person's laying on the wet ground. We need to get them up. Treat them like we would any other patient. Protect from the ground elements. The other big thing here is victims can be thrown by force and suffer other head and torso trauma. Treat burns like any other burns. Some of these forces, I've heard people talk about being thrown 30, 40 feet in the air when really close to a lightning strike. Imagine being 30, 40 feet down a scree field or a boulder field when this hits. So we have to be aware of many, many different things. Often they have impaired eyesight because of the brightness. Temporary blindness will occur, and loss of hearing with or without ruptured eardrums. They just can't hear you. So we have to be gentle with these folks. Cardiac arrests and rhythm irregularities are very possible. Again, do we carry in those AEDs? Treat for those electrical burns, entrance and exits. Treat for nerve damage as well, and common. For burns, put some water on it, cover it up with a good bandage. 4x4, wrap it up good, protect it, keep it clean. Most wounds are superficial. And as shown in the video, most people just walked out on their own. And that's a great thing. But they still have electrical insults, which we'll talk about. So many will have sore muscles and headaches and nausea, upset stomachs, and other post-concussion symptoms we still need to treat and be careful about letting these folks go too early and drive home. Mild confusion and amnesia are very common. Again, temporary blindness, ruptured eardrums with or without bleeding from the ears. Worst case, a body part is blown off. We went to Evergreen Golf Course one year in the late 80s. Lightning strike hit a fellow as he was teeing off, and he lost a good hunk of his ankle right above the shoe line. So treat all this as you would normal trauma and burns. So, if a person is struck by lightning, the good news is most victims, 90% or better, survive a lightning strike. That's really great news. Look back in your mind to the video that we played at the beginning of this discussion on Mount Beardstadt, where 15 individuals were struck or had electrical insult by lightning and walked off on their own power. That's a very good thing. However, it's the long-term effects on your life and the lives of your family members that can be truly devastating. Now here we're talking about other medical conditions that may present relatively soon or farther down the line that you and or your family members are going to have to deal with. These are Lichtenberg figures. Lichtenberg figures are branching electrical discharges that appear in the body or other surfaces such as wood or could be grass or the ground by lightning or any other electrical source that comes in contact with it. These Lichtenberg figures can be quite dramatic, period. This individual took a pretty good hit and went down from his neck, down his chest, crossing over the heart, which is serious. And I don't know if it went down into his groin or down his legs. But the whole point is this can be a very serious strike, especially with the charge going directly over the heart. Many of these figures will fade over time, which is good news. So some say several weeks, some say only a few days. I think some have said that maybe upwards of a month they will fade over time. But they can be quite dramatic, and I don't know, frankly, if I'd want to be in a position to receive such a strike. This one was very recent and is still showing bodily fluid oozing up from the burn from the strike. You can see where this one hit the gentleman's shoulder and radiated out, and the majority of it went down the back, probably over through the legs. This one is quite an interesting tattoo, but you can see the focal point there high on the arm radiating out. This is a little different one, more straight lines than these branching figures. This gentleman had a circular impact in the back, and you can see his right ear is missing a piece that got blown off. And here's a Lichtenberg figure in a golf course. Very similar structure as this gentleman's back. This young lady took one in the back of the head, and the Lichtenberg figures worked their way down across her chest, her breast, and her stomach, and down both arms as well. Very similar to lightning as it's captured in Lexan. Very, very similar. So electrical insults. You don't have to be struck to be affected. That is the key thing. Whether you were struck or you stand in a streamer and have your hair move up, you have an electrical insult. An electrical insult is being either directly struck by lightning or having proximal exposure to a direct strike. For example, the tingling, the buzzing of the gear, the raising of the hair up on your body. I know I've had a few, and that maybe accounts to my weird actions, but Dr. Marianne Cooper studied over 3,200 electrical insult victims, both lightning as well as commercial electrical strikes, and found no difference in the effects long-term on the subjects. Changes in DNA structure have now been documented. So who you were 5 minutes ago is not who you are now that you've had an electrical insult. There are changes in your DNA, and you're not going to be the same. Medical conditions can present immediately or over longer periods, even years. The good news here is, on average, 90% of individuals hit by lightning survive, which is a really good thing. Now, in 2019, Colorado recorded officially only 1 death and 18 reported insults. Here, the problem is the operative word, reported. We know that there's been more insults out there by hikers and other folks using the backcountry that go unreported. So rescue teams, law enforcement, EMS need to do a better job of reporting all electrical insults to the Lightning Data Center, even if the subject seems unharmed and declines medical treatment. We need to be able to track these folks and do follow-up on what issues have you had 2 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, and can only do that if we have reporting of these individuals, even if they walk away without medical treatment. So consider this. Is the risk of getting hit worth it? Severe long-term migraines, chronic hearing disruption, chronic short-term memory, chronic fatigue, narcolepsy, extreme tendency to fall asleep, that overstimulation of myocardial tissue around the heart, premature dementia. One of the articles I read, a 27-year-old, good health, in his early 30s, he had dementia following one of these electrical insults. Premature strokes, permanent loss of long-term memory. Chronic vertigo. This surroundings seem to swirl dizzily around you, and your head feels tilted like you want to fall over. Epilepsy. Mass tumors on multiple body organs. Premature cataracts of the eyes. One incident I read, a young 20-year-old got hit, excellent health, just got checked out for sports or whatever, and within 2 to 3 weeks following an electrical insult, had bilateral cataract surgery performed on his eyes because cataracts formed immediately over both eyes. Suicide rates tend to be significantly higher. I've heard 30–40% suicide. So remember this, there is no known cure for electrical insult injuries. Let me repeat, there is no known cure for electrical insult injuries. They will try to help with symptoms, but there's no cure for it. So hiking, when lightning is probable, is like playing Russian roulette. The odds are in your favor, But when you lose, it can be life-altering. So, don't be afraid to go in the backcountry. Be knowledgeable and observant of the weather. Be on the cautious side of things. Leave the area very early. Always have an exit route. Safety is first. Rescuers, be cautious about running into quick to help. The mountain is always going to be there tomorrow. So when thunder roars, go indoors. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.